Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I think I mentioned this the other day, but link to my sponsors doing a documentary with Dennis Quaid's Viewpoint. I guess that's his documentary production company or something. But check this out. I don't think I showed this when it comes out. But what I do know is that Link2 does have private equity on the platform if you want to check it out. Speaking of things being on platforms, this is the promo video from Gemini. We've been at odds on this channel with Gemini for years about this, but now they are excited to announce XRP is now available for trading. When XRP did hit Gemini, it temporarily surged to $50 on Gemini, which pushed the token's market cap to trillions of dollars for a few minutes at least. Okay, there was several glitches going on, I guess. Current price was $1.66 at one point, and then this shows where it went to $50 for a brief glitch moment. But good for those guys. Now, Mark Phillips is holding DAI accountable. Look at this. He says, hey, digital asset investor, are you heading to the big city to promote this? Tyler and Cameron said they could use a good hype man. Well, I can do that. I've been accused of hype. I've been accused of wild speculation. I do all of the above proudly. I came to this party because I was a speculator, and I remain a speculator, wild at times. And I will go on the streets with these guys. And I'm not saying that these guys need me in any way. I'm just saying I would do it to fulfill what I told them. And for those of you that don't know, I have some history here. This was back in 2019, and I told, I had posted this because there was something that was a fake Tyler Winklevoss account, but I used to give these guys a hard time about how they never did list XRP. But I said, I'm glad to hear it, man. I said, I will make my audience know this, make sure they know this. My offer still stands to you guys. Add XRP to your platform, and I come to New York City and promote the addition with cinnamon coffee on the street with you guys. Let me know. Like I said, not that they need me to promote, but I do have a few friends that like XRP. If it would help Gemini in any way, I would fly there at my own expense, just like I said I would. Now, the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, who does believe in Troomers and does have he is a serial Twitter Spaces guy at this point, and he does only talk about Troomers. He had Jeremy Hogan on. He has a couple of clips I want to show you today. He had Jeremy Hogan on. I can't even keep up with it. Every time, I'll be sitting here throughout the day, and there's the cool guy doing a Troomers Twitter Spaces, and they're talking about all kinds of stuff. I can't even keep up with all of it. But here's what Jeremy Hogan said in the Troomers. This is what I keep saying, folks.
Digital asset commodity, because the trial judge said so. Now it's in dicta, but she said so. She made a very good order. So this is the only digital asset that I'm aware of that has that clarity moving forward. All right, period, done.
Only, period.
Moving forward into appeal, if Ripple were to lose on the programmatic sales and individual sales, and I'm not saying they will, but if they do, the only effect that has is as to Ripple. So it only affects whether Ripple could sell XRP in certain ways moving forward. So, I've seen a lot of confusion in that, and that I think is what the bottom line is. The problem you would have if Ripple lost on appeal is that the exchanges would have to be able to distinguish, XRP that's sourced from a market maker or something versus XRP that's sourced directly from Ripple. And if they can do that, it's not a big deal for them. And so you're not going to see any delistings of XRP, but that really the appeal will only affect Ripple, and it doesn't affect XRP, the digital asset.
Hogan, I love when you talk dirty.
How about them apples, folks? Then we have this, the adult in the room. This is Miles Frank. No, I don't know why he calls him. I guess that's his company. Andy Shackman. Listen to this clip right here. This is interesting.
Rapidly approaching Bretton Woods 3. Bretton Woods 1 is when the dollar was anointed the world reserve currency at the end of World War II in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, taking over for the pound sterling. Loosely, Bretton Woods 2 would have been when Nixon closed the gold window and when we struck a deal with the Saudi kingdom, Kissinger did, saying that we will protect you, and for that, you will deny.
Let me pause here, folks. Understand what this guy's talking about right here is the reason I've been fixated on this one company, this one digital asset for all these years. This is not, for me, this is not just another investment. You know, you couldn't build a channel around ABC stock. You couldn't do that. The reason I've been here, this is not over little stuff. This is the reason I'm here is because I have believed and continue to believe that this is a once in 200 years changeover. A flip of the switch, whatever you want to call it. It's a changeover of the entire financial system. And I have believed, and I continue to believe, that XRP, this one digital asset, happens to be at that and gold, happens to be at the very center of this changeover. Call it what you want. Federal Reserve 2.0, Bretton Woods 3. Let me write Federal Reserve 2.0 down so I don't forget it, because that's a thumbnail. Call it what you want. But that's what I believed it was when they created the Federal Reserve. The 5 or 6 richest families in the world, their representatives sat at a table at Jekyll Island, and they basically created a monopoly on money is what they created. This time, I've always felt like this would be the equivalent of a handful of retail people that spotted what was going on, being able to sit in the corner of that room in Jekyll Island and shave out their little 10%. And my little percentage would be part of that 10%. That's what I've always thought of this thing as. And I continue to think of it that way.
Oil globally in dollars, you and OPEC. That was Bretton Woods 2. And that system is breaking, entering Bretton Woods 3, a system that he calls one that is backed by transparency and commodities, things that are immutable and verified. And much of what he is saying is exactly what you are saying is the perfect currency. And I couldn't agree with you more on all of this. And I think we are rapidly moving in that direction. The Bank of International Settlements, the group that reclassified gold as the world's only other tier 1 reserve asset, in 20.
You mean the Bank of International Settlements, the same one that Ripple just joined their whatchamadoog? I forgot what it was called. Their I don't remember what the organization was called or the anyway. You know what I'm talking about.
Also said that every country on the planet must have a operational CBDC by 2025. This is where we are going, and I think that, you know, to ignore that and to not prepare for what it really means will be to your own detriment. And so, yeah, this is a time of change, and we are right at the footsteps of it right now.
Think about all we've been through, folks, and I haven't lost 1 ounce of faith in the fact that I was right about this thing. Not one time. My gut's been this is the one time I've always said go with your gut. My gut, this one right here is the big one, and I believe I just know it. All right, okay, so everybody's starting to figure out what just happened. It's important. There's some smart people starting to figure it out. Raoul Paul's figured it out.
Some very interesting news out of the USA that XRP has been deemed not a security. So just what's your hot take on this situation?
That's Lark Davis, who's a Bitcoin maxi, by the way.
I mean, we thought the good news coming was going to be the ETF. We knew this was in the background. I always had a decent probability that this was going to happen, but it dropped like a bomb today, and XRP's up 75% in a day. But what it does is it shows that the regulators are overreaching. Now, we don't have that around elsewhere in the world because most of the regulators elsewhere have been reasonably decent about crypto, but the US was the one that weren't. Gensler was really attacking the space. So what that's done is unleashed so many of the larger alt tokens that launched in similar ways to XRP that should not be deemed as security, and that's going to make the space more investable. At the margin, it allows others to enter into the space. We saw XRP get relisted by Coinbase immediately. Okay, that's a big statement. It means that institutions will be more comfortable around it. That allows more people into the space. So people who might have been nervous of Solana or some of the others may look at this now and say, look, the probability of those being called a security is now becoming much smaller by the day, and therefore the risk profile of owning these things is much lower.
So they're getting it. This Sam Lyman from Forbes, he totally gets it. Check this out.
A couple years ago, the SEC filed a lawsuit against Ripple Labs, which is the issuer of XRP, which is one of the biggest cryptocurrencies in the space. So in this lawsuit, the SEC asserted that XRP was a security and that Ripple was issuing an unregistered security, and therefore should be the law should apply to them. And so what happened in this court case, however, was a monumental decision for the space. So Judge Annalisa Torres, she actually ruled that when XRP was first issued and sold to institutional investors, it was then a security. But after that, when XRP was sold on crypto exchanges, you had a lot of retail investors buying this asset, not knowing that it was tied to a specific company. And so by that definition, it actually didn't meet the criteria for a security. And so that has huge ripple effects, if you will, for the industry itself, because the implication, if that ruling stands, is that the majority of crypto assets sold on crypto exchanges like Coinbase or like Kraken, for example, against what Gary Gensler has said, that those are all securities, they are actually not securities. And so it's had a lot of really large implications for the space going forward. And it's emboldened the crypto industry. It's been notched as a huge win for the industry, and it's hard to deny that it is.
Now think about this for a minute. So here's Gary Gensler. This is the definition of a bully. He's got billions of dollars and attorneys at his disposal to just basically go after and pick on anybody he wants. And he did that, and he got his A word kicked, as my 11-year-old would say. And with all the advantages, and you know why? Because he's got one little problem. He doesn't have the truth on his side, and he knew it. $200 million ago, before Ripple spent $200 million, he knew that XRP itself, that the oranges themselves were not a security. And that's why we have a corruption problem in this country. Just part of the reason. This is just one agency. It goes across multiple agencies. Now, have you noticed that every day you see all these guys on CoinDesk and all these media outlets, and they want to analyze, what's going to happen with the Ripple decision, and now there's an interlocutory appeal, and how's this going to affect Ripple? But you don't see any of them doing any live shows where they spend 45 minutes analyzing how this verdict, how the ruling, which is the law now, okay? This is the law. This carries 10 times more. Actually, the Hinman speech carries 0 weight. It was just his opinion, remember? This actually carries the weight of the law. This is the law. And they don't cover how this affects the Ethereum Foundation and all of these institutions that were selling, creating tokens, you name it. But look at this, because remember, one of the parts of the ruling is that Ripple, the institute, they can't sell to institutions, okay? Those are securities. This right here, what you're looking at, Mike Novogratz has admitted to buying 500,000 ETH from Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin 5 years ago. Vitalik Buterin replies, this is in 2020, right before Ripple got sued. It was the Ethereum Foundation, not me as an individual. I'm grateful to Mike Novogratz and other purchases of the Ethereum Foundation's ETH. If it weren't for them, perhaps the Ethereum Foundation would not have survived financially, and Ethereum would have had a harder time growing to where it is today. In other words, the money that the Ethereum Foundation got was used to fund the development of Ethereum. Common enterprise, anyone? And this guy, so I asked John Deaton and Jeremy Hogan, would this be an illegal security transaction per Ripple ruling, since the sale was directly from the Ethereum Foundation, an institution, to another institution, Galaxy, I'm assuming? John says, I'm assuming this is a rhetorical question. John, you assumed right. Why is nobody, all these people, they've got their legal analysts. We had a Bloomberg guy yesterday. They've got their legal analysts. They're all concerned in analyzing the Ripple case and how it affects Ripple. What about how it affects Ethereum? That's what I want to know. Where are you at? How does it affect the venture capitalists who were investing in not just equity but in the tokens? Where were they getting the tokens from? How many disguised whales were institutions that received Ethereum from the Ethereum Foundation and the ICO? All illegal securities transactions. Check this out, Jack McDonald. I'm thrilled to have Brad Garlinghouse keynote our upcoming Coin Alts Fund Symposium. Brad always has lots of thought-provoking things to say. That's in October. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Brad Garlinghouse is going to the Coin Alts 2023 Fund Symposium. Thanks for listening.